All right, guys, this is a video about my first ever 20 gauge waterfowl hunt. The gun that I used is the same one that you guys have seen in a couple of my videos so far. It's a Winchester Super X4, 20 gauge, 3-inch chamber, 28-inch barrel. Just kind of a standard gun, but a really good quality gun, especially under $1,000 to kind of get you into the 20 gauge game, but still have something that I would consider as top shelf. So the first ammunition that I used was the Hevi 12 by Hevi shot, 3-inch number 6, ounce and a quarter, 1350. This is actually the original Hevi shot, where it's 12 grams per cc. So it's heavier than lead, not by a large margin, but it is in fact heavier than lead. This one here is just Boss. I put it in a white box because I don't, Boss doesn't give you a box. So it's ounce and an eighth, copper plated, number 4 bismuth, 3-inch. And I've patterned that before, so you guys have seen that in any of my previous videos. And then the last one that I used is the 20 gauge Winchester Super X, number 4 steel, 3-inch, 7/8 ounce. I used a True Lock modified choke for everything. All right, guys, in this photo is the initial 3 birds that I shot, and this was all with the Hevi 12 number 6 ounce and a quarter 3-inch 20 gauge loads. So the first bird that I shot was 3 minutes into the morning. That was the mallard drake. And he landed about 25 yards out in front of me, a little bit past the decoys. I flushed him, shot him, boom, hit the water, belly up. About 20 minutes later, I had a teal kind of come from my left, and then circled, kind of landed about 50 yards outside. She swam into about 30 yards. Once again, I flushed her, shot her, boom, she was done. What I didn't know was there was a hen wood duck in the grass right aside of that teal at about 35 yards, and out she popped. I fired a second shot. I missed, connected on my third shot. I swung my lead to about 6 feet and then dropped her probably about 40 yards, and that was pretty much it. So that was all with the Hevi 6, Hevi 12, number 6's. These next series of photos are the complete bag limit for the day. I added 1 green wing teal hen, and that one was taken with Boss bismuth number 4s. I was having a hard time toward the end decoying the birds close because in typical Pennsylvania fashion, guys usually set up about 100, 125 yards from you if you make it to the spot before them, but they still want to be in. It's part of being a Pennsylvania hunter. There's no other way to explain it. Anyways, that particular hen was taken with the Boss bismuth number 4 at probably about the 35, possibly pushing close to 40 yards. And that was a heck of a kill. I made that one crossing. That was it. 1 shot, dead as a doornail. So that's a small bird, 40 yards, modified True Lock choke. And, like I said, 1 shot done. So think about that. Small bird, pretty tight pattern to make that happen. So overall, hunting with a 20 gauge, first season doing so, it was a heck of a day. So following up on that heck of a day, remember those hunters that I mentioned that had set up about 125 or so yards from me? Long story short, due to their style of hunting, which is what I'd classify as sky busting, they ended up having a crippled wood duck that ended up kind of sailing over to where that last green wing teal that I had taken. So they were yelling, hey, shoot this cripple or whatever, how I could barely understand what they were saying. But long story short, I wasn't wasting a good shell on a cripple that wasn't mine. So I had used those Winchester Super X 4 steel. I had shot at, I don't know, maybe that 25-yard range or so. Obviously aiming for the head, and ended up kind of blowing up the beak and face a little bit. So overall, being that I used all three ammunition types in that morning, I can absolutely say that the 20 gauge has incredible potential, and I can see myself hunting with it a whole lot more going forward. It was a great day. With a 20 gauge, I felt undergunned in the beginning when those guys kind of showed up. I thought all the birds would end up landing out farther or passing by. I never thought I'd get that chance to have them decoy, but it just kind of turns out I had a better hide, and they wanted to kind of work my decoys, but I didn't have anything come from the right hand side due to those guys being so close to me and their sky busting antics. But initially I kind of started that morning out, I felt undergunned, and when I shot that first mallard, I felt really good about the hunt, because it kind of instilled that confidence that I didn't think that I'd have initially. So I'd like to show you guys some of the shells and what they look like afterwards. So these are the heavy shot shells. So they look just like a standard shadite hole. I believe that's what they are. But I noticed that every one of these, if you guys look, kind of see that? Every one of them split here right there. Every one of them split that I picked up. It's not the end of the world. It didn't give me any problems. I just figured I'd mention it for some odd reason, even though I think these are Chedite hulls. I believe they are. They're not reloadable. I guess you could get a reload out of these if you were desperate, but what would be the point? And then here are the Boss, which they almost look like the same darn hull. I believe they look pretty similar. Can't 100% guarantee it or not. The internal, they look identical. I mean, honest to God, they look identical. So that's the heavy shot one, and then these are the two Boss. So these definitely will reload, and they'll reload pretty well. I haven't taken a caliper to measure the depth or anything. And then these are here's the Winchester. So these look fine. They'll reload. The only thing is they have that where after they crimp them, you could see how jagged they are, because to seal the crimp, they actually melt the tips of the petals together to seal the crimp. That's just, Winchester does that on a lot of shells. I don't really know why. But what I wanted to point out with these heavy 12s is they do such a darn nice job crimping these things. It's almost like they maybe roll crimp them after they're so smooth on the edge. I don't know if maybe they've worked hardened the plastic to the point that, once you fire them, they're just kind of a single use, which is okay. I guess most guys buying this type of ammunition are probably not going to reload them. I'm saving my 3-inch hulls because I actually have plans to reload number 4 bismuth here coming up. I've got wads. I've got some shot. I've got powder and primers and all that good stuff, so I'm ready to go. I just need some once-fired hulls. So it's unfortunately these aren't reloadable, but they were quite impressive. They were quite impressive. So that's kind of the end of the video. You guys kind of give me your feedback, but overall, I had a great experience, hunting with the 20 gauge, and hopefully this helps somebody out that's maybe a little on the fence, that's considering hunting with a 20 gauge themselves this season or maybe the next one. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.